Okay, I have a revolutionary idea for how we might get a little bit closer to prepared for a general strike. Class solidarity. I know you're like, that's a given. No, I mean it like in practice. Class solidarity. That means like when you go and you are in a position of receiving services or being a customer, and you walk into an establishment and the person working, the worker says, "Hi, how are you?" You don't answer, "I'm just looking." You say, "I'm good. How are you?" Doesn't mean you have to like exchange your entire life story, but you could treat them like a human because that just feels good. And they are, in fact, human. We are human. People that work are human, right? Because you work, you're human too. And it's important that we remember that. And that we remember that sometimes when we are waiting and we feel frustrated, it's because the company has intentionally offered less staff for what's needed for the work, right? So it's not the person who's working's fault, right? Because they aren't the ones saying, now, what's the bare minimum I could get away with and pay myself so that the shareholders make sure they get their value, right? They're not the ones doing that. They are suffering under capitalism, like we all are. So if we want something like a general strike, let's do something very basic, which is practice class solidarity with each other when we are in each other's presence. Don't pull out your camera and videotape people working without their consent, right? Don't yell at workers ever for any reason, no matter what the job is. Yelling is not something you're allowed to do to somebody else because they're being paid. That's abuse. Don't yell at workers. And don't go every single time you're frustrated and complain to the manager, right? Because then you're acting like a cop. And we don't need any more of that, right? You could just acknowledge, like, ugh, that was a less than great experience. Wish it hadn't been that way. They probably likely, because I've had a job, they probably said, "I'm sorry, blank, blank," already, right? They probably already started with an apology, so maybe you just accept the apology. But I'm serious. Like, if we want a transformed society, we have to start with basics: human decency and class solidarity. Let's just practice it with each other in public as often as possible. Like, that's a baseline test for, are we ready for something as complicated and amazing as a general strike? Can we be human with each other as workers?